Well, here we are. Look at this. A live stream. My second ever live stream. Anybody there? I don't see anybody. It's very late at night. So, well, I don't expect to see much. I'll just wait till someone drops into the comments and says something. I could sing, I suppose. Yeah, not much happening here. I'll just have a look and see what's happening. Where am I? Let's go to... no, can't see anything. What did I call the stream? I don't know. Oh, hello. Have we got Agent E, Matthew Hector, and the Modestine. Bonafide Pirate. G'day, mate. How's it going, Richard? Oh, everyone's dropping in now. Ooh, it's Christmas Eve here in New Zealand, by the way. We are, what are we now? We are just less than 3 hours from Christmas. I've got to get my sleigh out, get the reindeers, get the elves going. As you know, I have a important job to do tonight. Focus camera. There we go. Anyway, oh, look at all the people. Fantastic. It's really good. 36 people are watching and 9 thumbs ups already. That's fantastic. Anyway, tomorrow will be Christmas. I will be doing some flying. In fact, hang on, wait a minute. Don't go away. I bought this to fly tomorrow. This will be flying tomorrow outside. I'll fly it on the street outside the house, even though that's probably incredibly against the rules because you're not supposed to fly models anywhere but at a flying field around here, but I'll give that a bit of a go. Anyway, what have we got here? Any questions? Anyone want to know anything? No, Audio Geek FPV, you didn't miss anything important, just me. Oh, g'day, Lemon Z 1805 from Australia. What's the time over there? It must be about, 3 hours, I think, before us, which would be like 6:23 or something. I don't know. Not crashing, I hope. I'm always crashing, mate. Always crashing. If you're not crashing, you're not trying hard enough. I think we all know that. And you're stuffed with the COVID in Australia, are you? Well, we're not doing too bad here. We've got this, but this Omicron thing, this will get me demonetized. The Omicron thing, I think that's going to be the end of COVID, to be honest. I think looking at what's happening around the world, it is going to be a much milder form of the old malware that's going to immunize everybody. Even the anti-vaxxers will end up being immunized because they'll catch the COVID and gain immunity. Woohoo! Pandemic over, I believe. So I don't think we're going to see too much more in the way of lockdowns for much longer. I'd say within 2 or 3 months, it'll be pretty much back to normal because everyone will have either been vaccinated or had the Omicron and recovered and be immune to the effects of the virus, which is great. Back to the flying fields just in time. So yeah, I'm doing a review of this thing, by the way, on RC Model Reviews. I love this thing. It is brilliant. It is not only a biplane, which is, everyone loves a biplane, but it's a twin-engined biplane. Look at that. It's got 2 motors, one here and one there. And look, they're even labeled, in case you don't know, this is the right rotor motor and this is the left motor. How about that? And in case you forget what these things on the wings are, it says aileron. It's a plane for beginners, but man, I had so much fun last weekend in the wind. It is such a ball in the wind. So if you're a beginner, it's really great. And if you're an expert, just wait for the windy days and it's a ball to fly. So yeah, what else have we got in the comments here? Have a great Christmas from MO. Is that Missouri? From 688TC. Thank you very much. And Kiz Bartlett says, thank you for being yourself. Well, I've tried being other people. I've tried being David Hasselhoff, but that didn't work for me, so I just have to be myself. Got no other options, really. Carolyn Tyler, no props in view. Exactly. You've nailed it. I'm going to put FPV on here. Just a simple, cheap little 200 milliwatt all-in-one on there. This will be a fantastic model for FPV because it's 160 grams or something, amazingly light and a lot of wing area. So it means that you can fly it in really small spaces. I'm going to fly it on the street, fly it in my yard. I've got a little, suburban yard. I'm going to fly it in that tomorrow. And if there's any pieces left, I'll show you what they look like. But I think it'll be good. Will you do second-hand nitro engines, tear down and rebuild, mate? Well, actually, the only real rebuild you do with nitro engines are the bearings. Quite often, especially now, when you use a cheap oil, because I've always tried to use quality oils, or at least a little bit of castor oil in a nitro fuel, that means that you get rust protection after you've finished running, because if you just use methanol and synthetic oil and nitromethane, you get a very acidic residue which rusts the bearings. So Cool Power is a good example, and Klotz, they don't have very good anti-corrosion protection. So if you just use those and you don't use an after-run oil, you'll end up with rusty bearings. So I've already done a video on replacing the bearings in Glow Motors on this channel. If you have a look, you see there's a 2-part video on how to replace the bearings in your nitro motor. So yeah, apart from that, not much to do with them really. And they're hard to get now, and they're not very popular. Why is that? I've got my Mustang. I found the new digital retracts for my Mustang, my 91 powered P51 Mustang Nitro model, which I will be hopefully putting in the next couple of days and flying that over the summer. So stay tuned for that. I've got to find someone who can use the camera though. Neil's not too bad. You've seen Neil Cam on the videos, but Ron, he's not so good, and no one else is much good. So when I fly, there's no one there to document it, which is unfortunate. And hat cams are useless. Who else is in the comments? G'day, is it M0JEC? How do you say that? How do you pronounce that? Anyway, g'day. I see you commenting on a lot of stuff. Good to see you around. Do I mix the fuel, or is it all pre-mixed? I've always made my own fuel. Pre-mixed fuel, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting. And as I say, I'm a bit fussy about oil contents and things, so I make my own. For years, I used to mix synthetic and caster. Then I discovered a German oil called Fuchs Aerosynth or Aerosave. That was brilliant oil. Can't get it anymore. So now I'm back to using I use a synthetic caster, which is made by an Australian company. Can't remember the name of it, but it seems to work all right. And you just got to make sure you use a quality oil. Don't need a lot of quantity, just good quality. That's the main thing. And yes, GMI Visuals, this is a live stream, as live as I can be after 3 wines on a Christmas Eve. There you go. And your immune system will be better than those that got the booster. Yes, apparently. So if you get the vaccination and you catch the virus, or you catch the virus and then you get the vaccination, your immune system is super strong. You're a super immune. So that's good. And I don't like nitro because it eats the engine crunchy. Yeah, that's true. For years and years in this country, we didn't use nitro because it was really hard to get. It was expensive. It's still expensive. So we just ran methanol and oil. And most engines, apart from some of the American ones, don't run too well, but all the OSs and the Japanese and the UK engines ran fine because they have a slightly high compression ratio, which doesn't need the nitromethane. And, you know, that's kind of good. What have we got else here? Happy Christmas from Ireland. Oh, to be sure. Oh, bigorra, and other Irish words that I do not know what they mean. Proof that, well, Caroline, it's proof that I'm alive. I don't know about well, but I am alive for the time being. And, Greg's got 7 litres of Castrol M. That was great. That was a castor oil by Castrol, which we used to use a lot of. Castor oil in itself is a really interesting oil. I should do a video one day because unlike other oils, it has a 2-stage protection process. You run it in an engine and it lubricates because it's all slippery and oily. But if you overheat the engine, it actually polymerizes, which means it turns into a solid, which then coats the piston and liner, which protects it from metal-to-metal contact. Amazing oil. So the hotter the engine gets, the more protection you have. Brilliant. But it does cause gumming up and things. Anyway, no one cares about that. We've gone electric now, flying Tesla models. That's what we do now. Will you review any Graupner radios like the MZ32? If they send me one, I will, but I'm not going to buy one because it's interesting. Talking about radio reviews, it's a lot of companies offer to send me radios to review, and quite often I say no thanks because it's like really woggy, unusual. I shouldn't say that. I'll probably get demonetized for saying this. It's probably these days it's a bad term, but the unusual radios. And why would you buy anything other than a multi-protocol radio running OpenTX or EdgeTX? Because if you buy a proprietary system, you get locked in. And if the company goes bust, you can't get receivers for it. And you're usually paying a higher price if you're using proprietary gear. So just open protocol like a Radio Master or a Jumper and OpenTX as your software. And then when you move to a new radio, you don't have to relearn everything. In the old days when we started, hang on a minute, let me reach out of the shot. Look at this. Here's a bit of history for you folks. Look at this. This says JR somewhere. What does it say? It says JR somewhere on there. I don't know. But this is an original JR PCM. Hold on. What is it? It's a PCM 9X2. And it's a JR radio. It says JR up the top. See JR? Does that look familiar? Does that look like a Japanese radio that you've seen, around for a while? Yeah, it is the JR, and I think it was a 9303 or 9305 or something in 9302 in the USA. It's long wire, but the case is basically identical to a Tyrannus. And the problem with old radios, Futaba JR, every time you changed brand or even changed model of radio, you had to relearn everything. There was no consistency in the firmware. These days with OpenTX and EdgeTX, you can just learn one radio. When you buy a new one, everything still applies. You can, like, even with the Tango 2, you've got I forget what they call it, but they've got the TBS's version of OpenTX, and it all makes it so much simpler. What else have we got in terms of questions here? 3 wines. Yeah, just 3 wines. That's enough for me. I'm anybody's now. Don't let the wife know. She'll be all over me like a rash. Never mind. Yeah, Castrol smells fantastic. And one of the good things is where we fly, we have go-karts. You may have noticed, you may have heard it on the soundtrack. We have go-karts next door. So we often get the smell of Castrol wafting across the flying field, and we think, the days of nitro. But yeah, we don't fly much nitro. I will be flying my Mustang over the summer, though, so stay tuned for that. And I've got a few nitro models I want to get built and fly because, before we forget all about nitro, it is a fantastic branch of the hobby. It's in a minority now, but I really still enjoy it. Even the cleanup, just get a bit of squirty stuff and wipe it down. It's not a problem. Not a problem. What charger is good in your thoughts? Vertical charger, mate. What do you mean by a vertical charger? Do you mean standard on its edge or something? The charger I've been using a lot recently, I've lost. Hang on. Oh, here we go. I've got to admit, I've been using the Toolkit RC one, because it's got 4 charge bays and it'll run on mains power or a 12-volt supply, and you can do 4 batteries at once. It doesn't do only does 4 cells and not that many watts. But for things like smaller models, and for mini quads and things, it's great. It keeps humming. But if you've seen my bench at the workshop, it's covered in chargers of all sorts, from the original Turnigy 4-button chargers right up to the Radio Master chargers. They're doing some really cool stuff. I've got something here somewhere. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you about this yet. I must check and see when the embargo stops. But this Radio Master, not Radio Master, it's Toolkit RC. They're making everything so small. Look at the size of this thing. Look at it. Look how small that is. And that is how many watts? It is it says somewhere, I can't read it. It's 80 watt. This is an 80 watt charger. I kid you not, an 80 watt charger. They do some really cool stuff. The Toolkit RC, I'm quite impressed anyway. So what else have we got? Instead of laying down, it's upright, mate. That sounds like me. You can stand them. You can all stand them all upright like that if you want to. It's just a matter of choice, isn't it? It's out already. Good. Fantastic. As I've got a review coming on this anyway, so you'll be able to see that on RC Model Reviews. I think it's 23rd, I think it was embargoed too, but I only got this yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to look at it. And I don't like to sort of grab something, stick it on the bench and say, it's fantastic, and then 3 days later it blows up. Because when I got the original one of these, I reviewed it, and then a little bit later, before I finished reviewing it, one of the ports failed because it was a pre-production. It wasn't actually a production model. So it was a 3-port charger instead of a 4-port. And so I like to give things a bit of time to bed in, because it's easy to get wowed by the initial impression and then not given enough time to actually find the faults. It's easy to find the good things than the faults. And so these days I tend to be taking a bit longer over reviews and giving a bit more of a 20,000 mile follow-up, rather than just wow, look at this, it's really flash, buy one now, link in the description. And I don't do that. I don't do the affiliate links. I should do, because otherwise I just stay poor, but I don't care. Right, what else have we got here? Do I have an update on the ADSB alarm app? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I've been working away on that. I've changed a lot of stuff now, so you can use a really cheap composite screen. And I'm looking at using, where have I got it? It's here somewhere. Everything at my disposal. One of these. What's that? That is, maybe you can read the label. It's the Raspberry Pi Zero 2W, which is a much smaller board than the Raspberry Pi 4 that I was using. And it's much cheaper too. So this means that it will be smaller, cheaper, and use less power than the original unit. Hang on a minute. Here we go. That's the size of the board there. Look, it's tiny. It's a tiny little thing. So by using this, we cut down on the amount of power, make a smaller board, something you can put in your pocket, and cheaper to boot. These are really cheap. So that's the way I'm going to go on that. I should get a 3D printer. I don't have a 3D printer. I need someone to send me one to review. So I can print some cases and do put a file on the internet so everyone can print their own cases and make it into a fully standalone unit. What I will be doing, of course, and I've been working on the app. I hate writing apps. It's terrible. I'm not very good at writing apps, but I've been working on the app for the smartphone so that you can use it and set it up through a smartphone. So all it needs is a screen. It doesn't need a keyboard or anything like that. Any updates on the cruise missile? You're coming to a city near you soon. IC or electric flight? Both. It's all good. I mean, yeah, everything's good. Crazy Kiwi evening. Yes, you are correct. It is evening here in New Zealand. It's 9:36 and it's well past my bedtime, but I don't care because it's Christmas Eve. No affiliate links make your reviews much more believable. Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, there are a lot of people that review stuff and they're very, very objective and they're honest and they use affiliate links, and that's fine. I just would like to remove any suggestion, any just perception that my reviews might be swayed by putting coin in my pocket. I don't want any, even if it doesn't happen, I don't want people to think it might happen. So that's why I've chosen not to do that. It costs me a lot of money not to do that. But I mean, I'm not here to get rich. I'm here to make sure that the hobby survives and that people enjoy and they get the best value out of their dollar. And in fact, these days I'm spending far more time lobbying for the hobby, rallying against overregulation and trying to put the case for the hobby with regulators and governments and so forth. And it's a really big job. That takes an enormous amount of my time, doing the research, collecting the facts. Not that they care about facts, but next year it's going to take even more of my time because things are getting really bad all over the world. We really do need to stand up to the ridiculous over-regulation that's taking place. And unfortunately, we can't rely on national model flying bodies because they're all being bought off. And in the USA, the FAA and so have bought off the AMA. They've said, well, you support us and we'll give you a special privilege. You can have your little flying fields, your freers, and then, that gives you the ability to carry on as normal. So the AMA have said, yeah, that's fine. We're not going to say anything. You carry on. Remote ID, that's fine with us, And that's not the way it is because the AMA and those other bodies, they're not there to protect the hobby. The kid that goes out and wants to buy one of these from Banggood or something, saves his pocket money, buys one of these, wants to go down the park and fly it. The AMA doesn't care about them. They're not a member. But I care about all model flyers. I care about the hobby, which includes everybody, whether you're a member of the AMA or the BMFA, or whether you're just one guy that wants to buy a little flying model and go and fly it in your local park. Everybody deserves the right to use the airspace as long as they do so safely. And I think most people do. What else have we got? Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from wet, cold England. Oh, yeah, well, summer here. It was 28 degrees today, light breezes. Ooh, it was wonderful. But it won't last. Our winter will roll around soon. Winter, what is it? I wish it was snowing RN. What does that mean? I don't know. Thoughts on Wes Varty showing HD0 going at 30 kilometers, beating the pants off DJI French. Now, I've done several iterations of a video on the difference between DJI and HD0. And I haven't put those videos up yet. I should put them up because actually December, if I don't put them up in December, and I make no money out of them because the way YouTube works with ad revenue, everyone's buying ads at the moment, bidding on the ad prices to get them up so they can promote their Christmas and Boxing Day deals. After the new year, nobody spends any money on advertising. So I can get 1 million views and I earn $1. That's the way it works. So I should have got these videos out earlier, but I want to make sure they're accurate. And I've got DJI, I've got 2 DJI systems, and I've got HD0 and some interesting comparisons and differences. And I still fly analog mainly fly analog, even though digital is better and digital has many benefits. I just love analog, and might do a video on that, why I love analog so much, what it is about analog that really makes it more enjoyable for me. But, because it's not a case of money or anything else, it's just that I have all the systems, and I choose to fly analog for a number of reasons that I will probably tell people in the video. But as far as the digital systems go, I think we know DJI has the best image quality. You can't beat DJI's image quality. And I explain that in the video I'm working on, why exactly that is from a technical perspective. And I also look at the HD0 system. And HD0, it does a credible job. It's much better than it was when it first launched. I've got HD0 here and I've used it and it's fine, but there are some things about it I don't like. And the thing that scares me most about HD0 is it doesn't have much in the way of room to grow. It has limitations based on the chips that are being used. These chips have been out for quite some time now. It's pretty old tech, and it's operating at its limit. That's why you have to use 1 watt to get reasonable range out of HD0. And the other thing is it's for them to improve on the system is going to require new silicon. And I don't see new silicon being rolled out, given the chip shortage and everything, in any reasonable amount of time. So it's not going to get any better than it is now for quite some time to come. And when it does get better, it may not be backwards compatible. It's not a problem if you're already happy with what you've got and you're buying, VTXs and it works, that's fine. But if you're looking at a view to the future, I would say if you're looking at getting into digital, I would wait a little bit. I would honestly wait a bit because I think HD0 is going to refresh their silicon and you'll get a much better system for pretty much the same price, which may not necessarily be backwards compatible with the old system. So in the meantime, fly analog like I do. I've got to, hold on a minute. There we go. Where are we? review on this coming up. This is the GEP RC Smart 16. I'm loving this little thing. Look at it. Look at it. That's a mini quad. And hang on a minute. One of my previous favorites was the Tiny Hawk Freestyle. But look at the difference in size. This is minuscule, 50-something grams for this thing. So you can fly it anywhere. I've been down flying it where you shouldn't be flying drones in theory, but nobody knows it's there. It's smaller than a minor bird. It's smaller than a blackbird. So nobody knows it's there. And it doesn't fly like a 5-inch, but it flies like a 3-inch. And it is fun to fly. It's got incredible speed. And it's a really good experience. So, and you can't do this with digital. You could probably put the HD0 200 milliwatt board in there, but the analog is just designed for these things. It's small, it's compact, it's light. As soon as you start bumping up the weight, just a few grams on these things makes a huge difference. So this is fantastic. Tiny little stack in there, little tiny stack. I don't know what size it is, but fantastic. So yeah, I'll be doing a series of videos shortly on explaining how these digital systems work so that people can make their own decisions based on what they then know about how they work. And, that's the best way to do it. I could say, I like DJI or I like HD0, but that means nothing, absolutely nothing, because you've got to choose the system that's best for you, and your needs, desires, wants, and preferences are going to be totally different to mine. So instead of telling you what I like, I'm going to give you the information so you can decide what you like, and then you can choose the system accordingly. For example, if I just wanted to do long range and cinematic stuff and get the best in-goggle experience, DJI wins hands down. There's no doubting that at all. But if you want a system that's got the low latency, you want to do close proximity, and you want really lightweight VTX, then, hey, HD0 has a lot of advantages in that area. There's no best of anything. There's only best for particular situations. So I would say that, I'll educate people. That's my job, is to educate them. And because my opinion is just like anyone's opinion. It may be wrong, it may be right, but if you're educated, your opinion is the one that counts, because you're the person who's going to be spending your money. At least that's the way I look at it. I don't know. Maybe I got that wrong. What else have we got on here? Have you done any videos on ways to charge low-power batteries at the field using solar panels? No, I want to do that. I want to build a solar field pack for charging, because it'd be really handy if you could go to, just even backpack somewhere and do a full day's flying without having to carry a massive, great, lump of lithium with you just to recharge your batteries. And solar cells are quite cheap now, so I may well do something like that. I've seen a few projects online of people doing that. I'd like to do it myself and see how well that works, but I haven't done it yet. And what have we got? Flying Weed, Merry Christmas. G'day, mate. Thank you very much for all the feathers. The missus is going crazy. He knows what I mean. And hopefully we'll see you in the new year, mate. In the new year, that'd be good. Toyota Hilux, have I ever used iNav, RGPilot, or Pixel? Yes, I use iNav in my Bonsai. I've got a sub 250 gram Bonsai, which is my long range FPV. I think I've got Free Sky, the Free Sky 900 megahertz system in it. It's the only model I've got. I bought a number of modules and receivers, and I could only ever get one module working with one receiver. The software situation with the Free Sky is just complete nightmare. There's compatibility issues, and it's just a disaster. So I use Crossfly, and yes, ELRS is on my list of must-dos. I will get some ELRS systems and have a look at them and see how they go. But in the meantime, I use Crossfire. It works reliably. It's easy to set up, and that's what I do for long range. But I don't fly a lot of long range. I like the link resilience you get from long range gear, but I prefer to fly close proximity, no further away than I'd like to walk, because I'm old and I don't like walking that far. So I don't want to fly 20 kilometers away, because if I have a problem, it's a long way to go and find your model. But if I'm flying, 500 meters to a kilometer away, that's no problem. I can walk that distance if it falls out of the sky. And I like flying under trees, through gates, fence wires. That's the real challenge for me, not just being at 1,000 feet, 20 kilometers away. That's boring as bat poo. Have you seen where lithium comes from, mate? It's sad. Well, that depends. Lithium itself isn't too bad. It's the other additives like cobalt. Lithium can be extracted from seawater. You can get most of the world's lithium is actually tied up in seawater at the moment, and it comes from mud and brine flats and things. Cobalt, however, is mined under atrocious conditions, and the people who mine it get very poor pay and are treated very poorly. So, but fortunately, the battery technologies are moving away from cobalt, and I don't think that's too much of an issue for those of us who fly model aircraft. Cobalt's mainly used in the lithium-ion batteries that are used in electric vehicles. So, yeah, not too much of a problem. But lithium battery technology is here for quite a long time to come. There's no new technologies on the horizon that seem ready to replace it. You see every now and then you see headlines, lithium or sulfur or zinc air and all these things, new battery technologies. But yeah, they work in the lab, but they can't be commercialized because they don't have the energy density or the number of recharge cycles and things. There's a whole lot of issues relating to these other battery technologies. So for the time being, we're stuck with lithium. And I haven't seen kids mining lithium crunchy. I've seen them mining cobalt. Lithium is usually done by machinery because they take huge amounts of mud and brine and they stick it in a big refinery plant. There's no point in kids using a spade to dig lithium out of the ground. It's the cobalt is the real problem. So you check what you were looking at. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. What's on the menu for Christmas? Well, let me tell you. I will start with toast with ham and a Buck's Fizz. Yes, a Buck. Do you know what that is? That is sparkling wine with orange juice. Yeah, I'll give that a go. Then for lunch, my wife does a beautiful, it's kind of it's stuffing with chicken wrapped in bacon. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's to die for. And it's really good as a leftover on sandwiches later on. Then we have trifle and custard and cream. And then we just fall down and go to sleep for about 6 hours, as everyone does on Christmas Day. What else have we got here? If I do long range, I live somewhere where bona fide pilot can go 35 miles. Yeah, long range is interesting. The problem I see with most long range stuff, I don't fly long range because around here it's not safe to do it. We have a lot of agricultural operations. We have a lot of helicopter operations. So I couldn't be sure that if I'm 3 or 4 kilometers away, I'm not going to get in the way of a helicopter. And helicopters fly low. So even if I was flying below 400 feet, there could still be a helicopter there doing ag work or just transiting to a job. So for me, it's not safe. But if you're in an area where there is no manned aviation, well, the hobby has been doing long range, beyond visual line of sight operations for over a decade. And there's not one instance I'm aware of property damage, injury, or death related to those activities. So again, the regulators and the commercial operators are, it's too dangerous by far. But it's not if it's done properly. The thing that concerns me most is when I see people saying, I got 30K, but I was at 3,000 feet or 10,000 feet or something. Because when you're up that high, there's no way for you really to recognize if there's a manned aircraft up there. They may not have ADSB. It may be Class G airspace, no ADSB. You don't know. And the chances are infinitesimal that you would collide with a manned aircraft. And even if you did, the chances of someone dying are also very, very small. But personally, that's not a risk that I'm prepared to take. I can have just as much fun flying low and proximity with my FPV. I don't need to take that risk to get the buzz. But other people may have a different perspective on those things. So, yeah. And Chris says the problem with long range is that 1 kilometer is no different to 20 kilometers other than a number on the screen. He's dead right. Absolutely dead right. It's like flying at high altitude. A lot of people like to say, I got up to 5,000 feet. But to be honest, once you get above, 1,000 feet, so I hear, because of course I've never flown that high, everything looks the same anyway. You can't see much in the way of ground detail. The people look like ants. And once you've done it once, there's not really that much of a desire to do it again, which brings me to something I've raised with CAA on many occasions here, is why don't they give people a place where they can try beyond visual line of sight, where they can try flying above 400 feet, get it out of their system, make an exclusion area, no manned aviation in this area, because there will be drones and model aircraft flying to 10,000 feet and flying within this area beyond visual line of sight. That means we could do it completely safely. It would be an unpopulated area. People could go and see what it's like, because everyone wants to know. You buy a drone or a Go FPV, what is it like to fly really high? I want to try that. Or what is it like to fly beyond visual line of sight? I want to try that. If we provide an area where that can be done in controlled conditions and safely, then people won't be doing it in the wrong places. And that adds to safety. But unfortunately, the regulator says, we couldn't have that. People will die. Children will fall from the sky. And terrible, terrible. Because they don't understand the culture of the hobby. They've never done it themselves. They don't understand that really once you've done it once, the urge to do it again is much lower. So, yeah. And what else have we got here? And then he said, Chris says, he's right. I flew up to redacted altitude once and then never felt like doing it again. Absolutely true. Totally true. But everyone should be able to do it at least once to find that out for themselves. And the problem is, if we make it totally illegal, we don't provide an area where they can do that safely, then people will do it in the wrong place. And then they endanger other people. If you're going to fly to 10,000 feet where there could be commuter aircraft traveling through at the same altitude, it's not a safe thing to do, because one of the key things with FPV, one of the good things about flying proximity, is that we have fantastic situational awareness due to our ears. Now, the pilot in a Cessna 172 or whatever, they don't have this situational awareness because they have headphones on and they've got a big noisy motor up front. But we can hear aircraft coming from several miles away, which means as long as we're flying within that radius, we can take precautions. If we hear an airplane coming, will we go right down low below the trees, or we might even land? But if you're 10 kilometers away, you don't have that extra added situational awareness, which reduces the safety of the operation quite considerably. So, and thank you, Fly for Fun. Merry Christmas to you too. And what else have we got? Think of the children. We always think of the children. Of course we do. We can fly gliders much higher than 400 feet in the UK, location permitting. Yeah, that's interesting, because this 400-foot limit seems to be quite variable, doesn't it? Most countries say 400 foot's your maximum, but then in the UK, thanks to Simon Dale, and the FPV UK, you've got these exemptions to fly FPV much higher. But then they say, or they used to say, I don't know if it's changed in the latest release of the rule, but used to be only fixed wing could fly high, multi-rotors couldn't. What's the difference? But the overall thing is that we have very blunt rules, and this is going to be the thrust of my my push next year, is why do we have the same rules for GPS guided highly automated camera drones as we have for freestyle drones, as we have for traditional scale model of a Piper Cub or a P-51 Mustang? They're totally different craft with totally different risk profiles. To try and burden them with all the same rule set is a complete waste of time and unfair. And crunchy, yes, I've tried gliding. I used to be very much into slope soaring and thermal soaring in my younger years. The trouble around here is we don't have any slopes that are accessible, because every hill has another hill in front of it, which means you don't fly in lift, you fly in turbulence. And as for thermal soaring, well, we got this 400-foot ceiling in New Zealand, which around here we have no exemptions from. So I use my DLG a lot. I fly my DLG an awful lot. It's my favorite model in the summer and the spring. And 400 foot's fine because it's only a 900 mil DLG. So at 400 feet, it's looking pretty small anyway. But larger thermal soarers I'd love to fly, which don't have anywhere to do it. And thank you for the Christmas wish from Ireland. What have we got? How's Ron and the rest of the crew? Well, as good as can be expected. You've seen Gordon. He's never very good. Ron's okay. His legs are giving him a jip these days, but that's Ron. We're probably going to fly on Boxing Day, which will be good. Hopefully get a few people together. What have we got here now? Christchurch has a bit of a slope soaring club or something. Yeah. There are slope soaring clubs around the country, and it's interesting though, because it becomes. Fortunately, we have the shielded operation rule in New Zealand, but in some other countries, slope soaring is almost illegal, because if you're standing on the top of a 500-foot cliff and you throw your model off, the moment it clears the cliff, well, you're already flying over 400 feet above ground level and you're breaking the rules. Fortunately, here in New Zealand, our shielded operation means as long as you don't go further out than 100 meters, you're not breaking the rules. G'day, Tim. How's it going? People interested in cloud surfing. Are you coming out, Tim, on the weekend to have a fly made? That's Tim. We all know Tim. What else have we got? Not talking about RC Crunchy. No, I have no real interest in hoisting my own backside off the ground in an aircraft. You've seen how I fly. Would I endanger my own life by flying a real airplane? Certainly not. I'm not that much into risk. I'm very risk averse. I've made it to this age. I want to make it a little bit longer. What have we got? Yes, differentiating between GPS, self-flying, and manually flying craft is one of our hopes. It's one of the key hopes. We have to have that distinction. I'm not against the drone, the DJI drones. Some people say, DJI drones have killed the hobby. No, they haven't. They have enabled regulators to kill the hobby. The drone itself is just a tool. The fact that DJI drones exist should have no bearing on our hobby, because the traditional hobby has been a safe, responsible activity for decades. So just because a different group of people are using the same airspace shouldn't mean that we have to follow rules that really are designed for them. So it is the regulators who are being lazy and not drawing that distinction. And I've given them a way to draw the distinction quite easily, but they refuse to do so because they're lazy. They can't be bothered putting down their coffee and their biscuits long enough to actually think about the problem and come up with a solution. And also, you've got to remember, they're not really consulting with the hobby. The hobby doesn't matter to the regulators. Regulators they tailor the regulations to the needs of commercial operators, because that's where the money is. Commercial operators pay regulators huge amounts of money for permissions and licenses and fees. The hobby doesn't pay much at all, maybe a few bucks a year for registration, and that's it. So we don't count for much. It's the money that talks, and we don't provide enough money to have a voice, unfortunately. Thoughts about the Orca goggles. I've seen people using them. Interesting, I noticed that, what's her name, Lexi Jansen, she got a set of Orca goggles, but she still uses her Fat Sharks. Why is that? I don't know. Bot Grinder uses his Orcas, but he's had a few problems. They had to go back a few times and fix them. I think I'm happy with my Sky Zones. My Sky Zones work really well. In fact, I've been out flying tonight with my Sky Zones. Analog, homemade helical, fantastic. I can go out kilometers with this damn thing. Brilliant. And these work. OLED, fantastic. I think the Orcas are OLED. Everyone's talking about Orca's possible HD system. I don't know that we're going to see much from them in the way of HD. It is a very difficult nut to crack, and I don't know that they have. There's not enough money in the market to spend a lot of money on HD. DJI did it because they're selling all these camera drones, and this OcuSync 3 is now part of the latest versions of DJI's camera drones. But if you're just doing it for the FPV community, really hard to get your money back. And if you look at the HD0, one of the chips in that is an AMD chip, and it was an Advanced Micro Devices chip. And I looked at that when I was going to build my own HD system. I looked at that chip, and it's $250 per chip. So how are they making those video transmitters and receivers for the price they are? They're not paying the list price for those chips. And this is, even if you go to quantities of 1,000 or more, it's still $200 from Mouser and DigiKey and places like that. So how are they getting these chips at such a very low price? Because it makes no sense to me. So if you're looking at people like Orca and so forth, how are they going to get even the chips to do it at an affordable price? OpenHD is about the only way to go. But then you've got the problem of the latency. If you're going to use a Wi-Fi link and the type of OpenHD stuff, you're talking about many tens, possibly hundreds of milliseconds of latency, which is fine if you're using a flight controller and flying, just basically guiding your aircraft around the sky. But if you're really flying, you want latencies that are 40 milliseconds or less, and you just don't get that from OpenHD most of the time. Pavlich says, I have the O4X Sky Zone, but the module that comes with it is rubbish. Great goggles otherwise. Yes, in some cases it is. They have the two modes, the mix and the diversity mode. And it depends on the video camera you're using. Sometimes if you use the mix mode, it's crap. The picture all goes black and fuzzy and horrible, because sometimes the module gets upset by the video sync pulses made by some cameras. So you switch to diversity, and the diversity is not that good. But fortunately, I've been able to find most of my cameras do work with the mix mode, which is like rapid fire, and that works really well in that situation. Quite sensitive. I get good range and good rejection of interference and things. But if you just have to use diversity, yeah, they're crap. They're really crap. The diversity receivers are terrible. But there is a bay in there. You can put another receiver in there if you want to get around that problem. What else have we got? It's Skinny Guy FPV. Is he on here? Oh, yeah, he is. Hey, Merry Christmas, mate. Yeah, when are you coming flying again, mate? We miss you. We really do. Ron, he's in tears every time he goes out on a Sunday. Is Vaughan here? No. Oh, and he just collapses and cries in the corner for half an hour. You've really got to come and fix us, because we had enough of that. It makes the grass all wet, and then it grows too quick. I got to mow it twice. So yeah, you got to come back and do some flying, mate. What else have we got? Let me see. Another greetings from Ireland. It must be the right time in Ireland to do a live stream. I'll remember that in future. What antennas would you recommend for a Mobula 6? Is it? You mean on the drone itself? Where have I got a Mobula here? I had one somewhere. Yeah, here it is. You mean one of these? Or do you mean on goggles? What are you asking there? I'm not too sure. These just have a piece of wire, and it works adequately. All the best from Foggy, Hampshire. And yeah, here's to a happy, healthy 2022. It's going to be a watershed year for the hobby, because so many people have emailed me and said, I'm giving up the hobby. It's too hard. There's too many rules. It costs too much, regulations, blah, blah, blah. So I think we have to push back in 2022 and revitalize the hobby. Convince the public we're not all evil people sitting out with drones to spy on their bedrooms and knock airliners out of the sky. So yeah, but it's going to be a hard job. And EU is just waking up. Oh, right. And Ireland is in the EU. Yeah. Unlike the UK, thanks to Brexit. And I've had the FXT Viper goggles since it released. Only had to resolder the antenna plug back on when I dropped. I've still got Fat Shark Base Edition. The original base edition, I bought those, and they still work. And they have a really, really wide field of view. The image is crap, but they still work. So it's testimony to Fat Shark. But I wonder what's going to happen with Fat Shark, because you notice that the digital system is no longer branded Fat Shark. Ian from Mads RC pointed that out. It's now branded HD0. They seem to have taken over the digital system from Fat Shark. Fat Shark seems to have dropped the ball. Maybe there's no money in it for them. I wonder what effect Red Cat is having on this. We don't know. And then what have we got? Goggles. I've got a Bandicoot patch, wondering if a linear, omni antenna you recommend. Well, actually, I just use, for all my FPV now, I use my helical that I did a DIY on RC Model Reviews, the $2 helical. It's brilliant. It's got heaps of gain, and it's wide enough beam that you don't have to have your head pointed in exactly the right direction. Cheap as beans. It just works really well. I've got patches and I've got other helicals, and I don't bother with them. This is just so much better. So build yourself one. Save yourself a heap of money by building one of those, and I think you'll find you'll be quite impressed with the results. What else? Is it Christmas Day? Not yet. We're still 2 hours away. The clock is counting. And what have we got? Happy Christmas from Roy. Thank you, Roy. And yeah, anything else? Come on, Bruce, show us some more push-ups. Oh, man, I'm working. I've set myself a challenge. I've set myself a challenge to do 20 hand clap press-ups by the end of January. I don't know if I'll make it, but you've got to have a challenge. You've got to have a challenge. So that's what I'm hoping to do. Of course, over Christmas, New Year, I'm going to get fat as a pig. So, and one of the key things is how much weight you're carrying. I'm a lot heavier than Dave Jones, for example. So I had to have much stronger arms to do those press-ups. But if I can lose a bit of weight, even without putting any more muscle on, I should be able to do 20. We'll see what happens. I don't know. It's a bit of a gamble, but who knows? What else have we got here? Looks like a lot of people are missing me. Yeah, everybody misses you, Tim. I've told them, get better sights for your rifle, but they don't listen. There's ricochets all over the place, but no one's hit you yet. And Ross Nixon's up to 27 normal press-ups. Good on you, mate. Excellent. I mean, everyone should be setting themselves a bit of a goal. And I mean, when I was a kid, I was a wimp. I was one of those skinny little kids that, you know, people would kick sand in my face, even if we weren't at the beach. They'd bring their own sand and kick it at me at school. I was just a wimp, and I tried to, you know, I bought the drinks that made you bigger, and I tried to eat lots of pizzas and tried to get big, but I was just skinny as a rake. And then I bought some weights probably 25 years ago. The weights I use today, in fact, where are they? Here's some here. Hang on. Oh. These weights here, which these are my lightest ones, I bought these about 25 years ago when I sold a business and thought, I'll retire. And I sort of threw them around the room a bit, but nothing happened. Because if you want to gain any weight and strength, you've got to be a little bit consistent in what you do. So I only exercise twice a week. And I spend maybe 10 minutes twice a week. It's all it takes to get, you know, the guns. So, and the weaker you are, the better the results for the minimal amount of energy. So I'd say to anybody, you know, if you got 20 minutes a week, have a go. Nothing to lose, and you might be surprised with what happens. Because, you know, at my age, I shouldn't be able to put on too much in the way of weight without getting, testosterone, get the jabs or something. But I don't do that. That's not. I've got enough problems without getting needles poked into me. But if you just apply yourself, hey, it's not that hard. Really isn't. Oh, look at that! Someone's giving me money. Woohoo! That's brilliant. Oh, yes, I will buy some cranberry juice. Thank you. Excellent. Wow, fantastic. I've never had money thrown at me in a chat before. That's fantastic. What else have we got here? Good morning, one and all. I have an electric fence challenge every time I fly. Yeah, I think we all have those. Gravity is a challenge all unto itself. And we're all trying to beat that. No, it always wins. Gravity always wins. And Robin says, I'm a trainee health psychologist, and exercise does wonders. It does. It absolutely does. I mean, I find if I don't get out and do a walk at least once every couple of days, I start feeling really tired and dull and listless. I go out, walk for an hour, bingo, good as new again. It just makes a huge difference, especially with all the, you know, with the Parkinson's diagnosis and that. If I don't exercise, I feel myself going downhill really quickly. So, you know, exercise is fantastic for mental health. I think because you get more oxygen in your blood, it keeps your brain going better. But I'm not a professional, but I just observe what happens to me. And turn turtle mode. Yeah, I don't use turtle mode, actually. I got to admit, I haven't got turtle mode on any of my quads. I do because I never crash. I don't see the point in it. What's the point? I always fly perfectly and land at my feet every time. So what is the point of turtle mode? But yeah, I do get a lot of exercise. Thank you. And at the field, when people crash, I'm the one that's got to go and get the plane. We had John Townsend lost his FPV model. It was about 2 kilometers from the flight line. I had to go walking all over the back of the farm and bring it back, because he was sitting in his little, you know, office chair. But I don't mind. I enjoy the exercise. I really do. After being on UAV Futures Stream and explaining how you were on Scrapyard Wars, any behind the scenes stories? Yeah, heaps, because I had the benefit. I was on Scrap Heap Challenge and also on Junkyard Mega Wars. On Junkyard Mega Wars, I was just a technical consultant behind the scenes. But man, the culture difference between the USA and the UK when it comes to the television industry is amazing. I should do a whole video on that. It was really an eye opener. And it's like chalk and cheese. You would not believe the difference. And trust me, I would go with the UK anytime. I've got lots of lovely American friends, and but when it comes to the way people look at life, I think the people in the UK have really got a much better outlook than people in the USA. Everyone I met in the USA while I was working on the TV series, like the drivers and the people that ran around getting food and things, that wasn't their real job. They were actually actors, and they were just waiting for their break. They were only doing the driving and the food and things while they were waiting for their break. They got scripts they're showing to producers and things, and I thought, what a wonderfully colourful world you live in. Whereas in the UK, everything's a bit more down to earth. For example, when we had a lunch break on Scrap Heap Challenge, we all went into this big tent where there were bacon sandwiches and sausage sandwiches and fatty foods and everything. And all the stars, Robert Llewellyn and Lisa Rogers, all sat down with all the people on the crew and the people, the talent, the people like me who were on the show. We all ate together, chat, and had a sandwich and so forth. There was no problem. In America, the talent, which are the presenters, not the people in the show, they have their special trailers, and they've got a couple of shots to do. So they roll up. They get out of their chauffeur-driven limo, walk to the trailer. Someone does all their makeup. They come out. They do 5 minutes to camera, go back to the trailer, jump in the limo, and drive away. You don't see them anymore. Whereas in the UK, the presenters are there all day, right throughout the day, and they have no airs and graces. They're just regular people. Fantastically different approach to things. And in America, when it came to food, there was like tofu and bean sprouts and orange juice. There was no bacon sandwiches, no sausage sandwiches, no fatty, greasy foods that are going to shorten your life, which was kind of a disappointment to me. But yeah, enough of that. What have we got? Flying is simply crashing with style, and there's the man who can speak from experience. He's the man who's painted our boards at the airfield for us on a regular basis with the nose of his aircraft. He's coming back to do it again in the new year. Fantastic. I love Scrapy Challenge too, Carl. It was very interesting, but it shows you reality TV is the least thing like reality there is. When you look behind the scenes, we built the Navy team built this pulse jet engine on the day. And then we had to spend a full day rebuilding it because it would have simply exploded into a million pieces. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you don't see in the actual thing, but it's entertainment. You got to realize it's not real reality; it's just entertainment. And thank you, Audio Geek FPV, for €5. Is it? Oh, euros! I love euros. They're fantastic. And all the best to you too for 2022. It's going to be a long year, full 3. Is it a leap year? Probably not. I don't know. Anyway, it'll be there. And what else have we got? What's my favorite, tiniest quad? At the moment, I have to say whatever I get most recently, but this is doing really well. This is just fantastic, but I still love my Mobula. I can fly this inside. I wouldn't fly this inside. It's too damn fast. This flies inside. It scares the snot out of the cats. They just cannot stand it, but it's great. If it's rainy and it's windy, I can just fly this around inside, and so the wife tells me off too much. But yeah, little quads are great. I must admit, I'm quite a fan of Sub 250. I love Sub 250 because it may be the only area we have without too many rules and regulations. And these days, thanks to technology, we can do stuff with Sub 250 that previously would have required much larger craft. So yeah, I'm happy with Sub 250, but I think we should still be able to fly larger craft without these stupid rules that they're foisting on us now. And what else have we got here? Do you like to cook a pig or two? Or we like to cook a pig or two here in the UK. You should do that. No, I'm not that against the police. I think the police have a role to. Oh, not that kind of pig. We have a ham. That's as far as we go. We don't really. I'm not a fan of pork for some reason. I don't know why that is. And what else? Drone and Sundry. G'day, Gary. It's just a further round down. Gary's here. Wow, all the crowds rolled up. It's fantastic. What have we got? Geez, 161 people. Is there any room out there? You're shoulder to shoulder. Social distancing, please. We have a pandemic. What else have we got? Merry Christmas from Joachim. Is it? I don't know how to say these things. Thanks for the impromptu, Bruce. Yeah, well, I just thought I'm sitting here. The old Sheila's watching Netflix, and Christmas is rolling up on us. I'm usually well in bed by now, but I've had three glasses of wine. That's keeping me up. So yeah, and everyone loves the wine. It's almost like a rant, but it's a little more winier. Yeah. Do I still fly fixed wing? Yes, I do. I love flying fixed wing. I think I'm kind of agnostic. I fly anything as long as it's radio controlled and it's fun. I'll fly it. And that's one of the reasons I think our club has been so popular, because a lot of clubs tend to be quite sort of segregated. Some clubs you can't fly helicopters, too dangerous. You can't fly multi-rotors, you can't fly camera drones. We let people fly anything they want as long as they do it without endangering other people. We don't have any kind of restrictions like that, because it's all part of the hobby and it's all fun, and you can't be too pernickety. You can't be too angry about those things. Just have fun. That's what you do. And Plexus Army, Plexus, Merry Christmas from across the ditch. G'day, mate. How's it going? Yeah, well, you can't fly DJI drones at our airfield because, unfortunately, it's an airfield. And DJI says, no, we've sold you this drone. You've given us your money, but we still own it, really, because we're not going to let you fly unless you jump through hoops and over hurdles, and I'm not having that. So my DJI FPV drone has not flown since I did my review. And it may never fly again. I don't know. I may end up giving it away to somebody. I'll give a lot of stuff away. Everyone that flies at our field has got something I've given them, because I have so much stuff that I have reviewed, and it can either sit on a shelf and gather dust, or I give it away. And I'd rather give it away so that people are actually using it, getting some value out of it. Unfortunately, with the situation with mail and things, it's not practical to give stuff away outside of New Zealand, because I gave away a Runcam 3, a little Runcam 3, little orange thing. It cost me 70 New Zealand dollars to ship that to America. 70. You can buy one for that. It's the cost of shipping from New Zealand is ridiculous. So I give stuff away to deserving people in New Zealand. I think Ron's using a transmitter I gave him. I think Bill's using a transmitter I gave him. I think Simon's using a transmitter. I give, I'd rather have people using it than have it sitting on my bench doing nothing. And I can't sell it because of tax reasons. If I sell any one thing that's been given to me, I've got to pay tax on everything that's given to me. So I don't want that. So I give it away. It's the simplest way to do it. What else have we got? Most fields will not allow gas. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, maybe we're at an airfield, so noise isn't an issue. And I fly pulse jets from time to time. I'm getting some pulse jet ready for the summer. If you've seen some of my old videos, I had a long easy with a pulse jet on it. Flew really well. And I've just got another one of those long easies, and I've got the Hobby King pulse jet I'm going to put on it. And I hope to get that going early in the new year. So that'll be something else a little exciting. That's very loud. I don't care. If people don't like it, they just go somewhere else. Have I tried Express LRS, Steve? Not yet. I'm waiting for someone to send me some. Anyone wants to send me some, send it to me, and I'll have a look. Certainly, it's going to change the game quite a bit by the look of it. I mean, how Free Sky going to sell their receivers when Express LRS receivers are so cheap? Same with TBS, because a lot of people have said, will TBS make ELRS equipment? No, they won't, because they want to keep people locked into Crossfire and Tracer, and those are their proprietary protocols. So they're not going to make a cheap ELRS receiver or module, because there's no money in it. There's no money in that. If you're making a receiver that sells for $10 or $12 US, you can't make a reasonable profit. But if you're making a Crossfire receiver that you sell for twice that, then you can make some good margin. And if you can't make a profit, there's no point in making anything. You might as well just not go into that sector. So I think ELRS is going to, and I said this to Chinese manufacturers years ago, I said, you guys should just make the hardware, open up the specs of the hardware to the community, and let people write open source software. I said that to FlySky when they did the 9X, the original Turnigy FlySky 9X. I said, your software is crap. Why don't you throw it open to the open source community? And they'll write really good software. You just make the hardware. That's what you're good at. You can't make software. And that's basically what's happened. I mean, we've seen that most decent radios have now had OpenTX or some other open source software. And it means we get guaranteed support and ongoing development of the product. The manufacturers can do what they do, which is make hardware. And I think that's the way it should go. Yeah, Free Sky ruined themselves, Carl. They really did. They got greedy and they believed that they were another Futaba or JR, and they forgot the thing that made them popular, which was that they provided really good functionality and they enabled compatibility across a lot of systems. When they tried to lock people in with access, that was, we were not having that. So yeah, they shot themselves in the foot there. And they've tried to go up market with all the high-end transmitters, but the reality is if people want a high-end transmitter, most of them will buy a Jetty or a Futaba or whatever. They won't buy a Chinese radio. So they didn't quite understand that. What else have we got? I'm in Australia. I'd be willing to pay for that DJI FPV's postage. Yes. Well, who knows? Who knows? One day, maybe I'll give it away. The only thing is I'd probably give the drone away, but having the version 2 goggles is a nice backup, because one thing that I try to do whenever I go out in public and fly FPV is take some passenger goggles. Another reason why I tend to use a lot of analog is because I have really cheap passenger goggles. Where are they? Oh, hang on. I'll be with you shortly. I can take something like these box goggles when I go out to the park, and people even with glasses can put these on and enjoy the FPV experience. And so that's really good, because every time I encounter someone in the park and I'm flying FPV and they have the goggles on, I'm just hit with questions. Oh, how do I get one of those? That's fantastic. How long have you been doing it? How high will it fly? Can you put bombs on it? All the usual questions. They get all excited and keen. And that's the way to keep the hobby going, is to get new people coming in by demonstrating to them what we are enjoying. Because you can't really understand that unless you've had the goggles on. And so we have to do that. A bit hard in the days of a pandemic, of course, because you've got to have all the social distancing and crap. But that's going to pass soon, as I said at the beginning of the stream. And what else? Merry Christmas from Queensland. Ooh, thank you. Are you still rocking your O4X? Yes, I am still rocking the O4X, my favorite FPV goggles, and I'll use them till they die. Well, hopefully they won't die, but they've been pretty reliable to date, most of my Sky Zone gear. Have you tried IRC Ghost? No, I haven't. Again, I think these proprietary things like Ghost and Tracer and that, now that ELRS is out there, what's the point of them? ELRS offers some really low latency, offers excellent range, really low cost receivers. So why would you buy into a proprietary system at greater cost, at less certainty or less choice in terms of supplier, which means that price is higher, and less certainty of ongoing support? I mean, if the manufacturer goes bust on a proprietary system, well, that's the end of it. But if it's an open system, if one of the manufacturers goes bust, nobody cares. There's always someone else to take up the slack. So I think, yeah. And was this obscure? I've had a guy offer me a punch in the face while wearing my goggles. Well, anything that's free is worth having, isn't it? Get two. You can give one back to him. I've never had anyone actually violently approach me. You get the Karens, oh, what are you doing? But actually I've found now, I've been flying FPV in the park so often now, I'm flying and I hear someone coming in, it's usually, g'day Bruce, how's it going? Most people know me. They know that I'm not a threat to their privacy or their safety, and they just say g'day as they walk past. And that's, hey, what's better than that? It's a small community, so that tends to happen. And people, being a YouTube superstar, I even get people coming up to me in the street saying, oh, you're that guy on YouTube, aren't you? And I go, yes, I am the guy on YouTube. There's no one else but me. But I'm doing my bit as much as I can to make our hobby acceptable in the public eye. But we need everyone to do it. I'm just one person. I can't do it. Everybody that flies should be aware that it's your responsibility to present the hobby in a good light to as many people as possible, so we can basically counteract the media. I'm doing a video in the next day or so, because I want to also highlight the fact that we are not the safety risk. Did you see that in South Africa, somebody crashed an RV into a cul-de-sac, a roadway, and it crashed into someone's gate? The engine stopped and it was flying over a built-up area, and it crashed into a built-up area. Fortunately, nobody was injured or died. But it was an example of how manned aviation will always be more risky than unmanned. And then, I think it was the USA, a paraglider collided with a light aircraft, and both people died. That doesn't happen with drones, but paragliders, they're not regulated in the USA, and even in the UK, they're not regulated like drones are. We really do need to hammer home that we're being over-regulated to hell and back. Whereas, I mean, the perfect example I quote is, if you get a Quicksilver ultralight in the USA, you can just buy that thing, jump in it and fly it. No registration, no license, no rules, no training. You can do it, totally legal. But if you build a 251-gram model of that same craft, you've got to register, sit the trust exam, and soon fit remote ID. What kind of stupidity is this? Really, it's unbelievable. What have we got here? I took a 92-year-old woman up for a fly. 4 packs later, she went home. I'm sure she did. It's surprising she survived that long. 94 years old. Could she handle the excitement? What else have we got? Did you see the flying castle? Yeah, exactly. I mean, surely those things should be regulated. It's not the first time either. There's been quite a few incidents with those bouncy castles taken off and carrying kids into the ether and dropping them on the ground, and with unfortunate results. But yeah, drones are more trendy to regulate. Love the camaraderie at the flying fields. Some great characters enjoying life. All of it. Yeah, that's what we try and do. I see so many videos on YouTube of people flying models, and there's flight light. Yes, it's not attractive. It wouldn't entice you in to taking up the hobby. Every video I make, I want people to see that this is fun. And this is the key thing. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. We have a snot load of fun, despite rules, regulations, and all the things. We want people to see that it's all about fun. It's just a way to share good times with friends. And that's what the hobby's about. You can, but it's a good hobby because you can do it on your own. I mean, like freestyle or FPV, it's quite nice sometimes just to take a few batteries, go down the park, and just have some fun on your own with your spotter, of course. But I mean, that's another thing, and it's for your mental health. It's brilliant. But then again, there are the social occasions when you get everyone together in the same space and have a whole lot of fun. It is a really unique hobby in that respect. I can't say really unique. Unique is an absolute. It's either unique or it's not. So it's a unique hobby in that respect, that it is both a social one and a solitary one. And we just need to introduce more people to it. What have we got here? What got you into RC? Model aircraft. I think I got into the hobby, non-RC, very, very early on. When I was 7 or 8, I built a little rubber band-powered balsa wood model from a kit. And then I just went on from there. And my first radio control system, I had to save up for it for a year. And my parents contributed half the amount. And it was single channel, just a button and an escapement thing. And I sent away for it at the beginning of our Christmas holidays, which is in just before Christmas. Sent away to the UK to get this radio control system, very expensive. And I was waiting every day of the school holidays for it to arrive, waiting. And on the last day of the school holidays, it arrived. So then I had to go back to school. I was so disappointed, but that got me into it. And then I built my own radio control gear because I wasn't very happy with the commercial stuff. And it was, it was, the thing that excited me most was seeing other people do it, going down the park and seeing people flying control line models, or cycling out to the local club, which was only, half an hour cycling away, and seeing people flying model aircraft. That got me really going. And I fear that with the way that the hobby's being pushed into little grassy fields in the middle of nowhere, kids today will not get that level of exposure. And just watching a video on YouTube is nowhere near the same as actually being there and seeing someone doing it in real life. So yeah, that's a worry. Kiz says, could you please say this? Random, you're a babe. Equip your sausage strap. No, probably not. How few megahertz was that audio gig? It was originally 27 megahertz. That's all we had, 6 channels on 27 megahertz. And my first set of radio equipment was what they call super regenerative, which meant that it used a very, very simple receiver. And that receiver had very broad tuning. So you could only fly, although we had 6 channels, you could only fly one at a time, because your receiver would pick up any broadcast on 27 megahertz. So it didn't matter if someone was on a different frequency, they'd still interfere with you. So that if they had Superhet, you could use Superhet, used different channels, but SuperRegen used the whole band. So when I wanted to fly, and some of my friends with our super cheap SuperRegen stuff, we had to grab all the pegs off the board and put them in our transmitter to fly. And no one else could fly while one person was flying. But that was just a cost thing. I mean, my first radio equipment cost a fortune compared to today. And like even this thing, this I think cost me $600. Long wire, 72 megahertz, 9-channel Futaba and a JR radio system. It cost me $600. You compare that to what you pay today. It's the hobby has got so cheap, and that is really good. It's totally affordable. I can afford to crash every day now. It's great. What do we got here? You have your control line plane from the 1990s. I've been thinking I would like to build an FPV control line plane just because I could. I'm sure it'd be against the law, but I'd love to have a go at that. And Camaro drone, rushing from Japan. How's it going, mate? All the way from Japan. Fantastic. CB radio was on 27 meg in the UK. Yeah, there was a real clash of frequencies back then. CB radio was not legal in the UK on 27 megahertz, but it was widely used, which is why the UK regulators opened up 35 or 36 megahertz for radio control use to get people away from the illegal CB radio bands. That's a great example, actually, of how civil disobedience can promote change, because in the UK, CB radio on 27 megahertz was illegal, but people did it. And they did it to the extent that the regulators had to turn around and say, we're fighting a losing battle. People are doing it anyway. We might as well let them. So they won. They broke the law until they won. And sometimes you just got to do that. You just have to hold firm and say, we're not going to change. These rules are ridiculous. We're going to stick to our guns. And you can affect change in that way. We may have to do that with the hobby. Hopefully not, but we may have to do it. Good morning from Miracle Beach, British Columbia in Canada, 1:30 a.m. here. Oh, it must be very cold in winter at 1:30 a.m. in British Columbia. The only other person I know from Canada is Alan Yu, I watch his daily vlog. Very good. I especially like the squirrels. We don't have squirrels here. It's quite a novelty. RC Dude says, I still use CB a lot. I'm a bit late to the stream. Always better late than never. Ooh, Overbeast. Do you miss Nitro? Yes. Well, no, I don't miss it because I still do a bit. And I will be doing some more this summer. I love Nitro. Electric is okay. It's okay at our field because we have a table full of charges. You just throw a battery on charge, go and fly. When you come back, your battery's charged because we have mains, power, coffee, fridge, all that sort of stuff, which is really great. A lot of flying fields don't have that. So people charge all their batteries before they go to the field, then fly them and then go home. In which case, Nitro is brilliant because you go to the field with a Nitro model. You just keep putting fuel in the tank and you can fly all day because your flight pack will generally last you all day. You don't have to keep recharging batteries. Just top it up, fill it up. You get 20 minutes of flight and you can fly all day if you want to on one charge of your flight pack. And that's brilliant. You don't get that with electric. You've got to have a pile of lipos to do that or a recharging facility on the field. So that's one of the things that people probably are not aware of with Nitro. I don't think about it. So what have we got? Drone rules are coming to Japan. Yeah, I noticed, interesting, when DJI brought out the Mavic Mini with its 249 grams, Japan changed its rules so that the cutoff point was 199 grams or 200 grams instead of 250. They dropped it down because of that DJI drone. So DJI bought a smaller battery pack and they have a version for Japan, which is 199 grams to get around the fact the regulator dropped the limit in response to that craft. So regulators are always looking for a reason to make your day a bit less pleasant. You know, they're not happy till you're not happy, unfortunately. How many members in your club, Bruce? Well, that's interesting because we don't actually have a club. We don't have a club as such. We have, because clubs, one of the things that really wrecks things is when you have a club and a committee and a president and a secretary and a treasurer, because then you get politics. Politics is the death knell of everything. Where there's no politics in our club, everybody is the same. Nobody has any special privilege or any rights or any power over anybody else. We're all just a group of mates that fly together. And that's why there's no arguments, there's no fighting, there's no bickering, and people like to come and fly with us. This whole hierarchy of club can be a very destructive thing, and so we just mates. We just fly together. We are affiliated to the National Model Flying Body through a kind of a geographically distributed club that handles all the sort of lone members. So we are individually affiliated to the National Model Flying Body, but we have no local club as such. We are just a group of people that fly together, and that's the way we want to keep it. It's so much more pleasant when you're not having to deal with someone running around with a clipboard saying, "Oh, I'm the safety officer, and you can't stand there because you might break that blade of grass." Or, no, not having it. We are all responsible for our own and everybody else's safety, and we take that quite seriously. May look a little bit reckless and carefree in the videos, but no one's ever been seriously hurt. Gordon looks like he's hurt every day, but that's just the way he looks. We have more safety than most clubs. And I don't know any other club in the country that has an ADSB alarm, an aircraft radio, and people looking out for aircraft coming in. We take it exceptionally. And we've been flying at an airfield for nearly 20 years now. And there's never been one collision between a drone and a manned aircraft. No incidents, because we take it very seriously. And although it doesn't mean you can't have fun just because you're taking safety seriously. Well, it doesn't mean that you have to stop having fun to take safety seriously, as some clubs seem to think. And as Flying Weed says, well, you're all part of the club. In fact, it was kind of funny. Way back in the day of the South Waikato Model Aero Club, which still wasn't a club, we caught the ire of the National Model Flying Body because we opened up membership, token membership, to anyone that wanted to. You could become a member of the South Waikato Model Aero Club. You didn't have to pay any money. Just say, I want to be a member, and we'd give you membership. And the National Model Flying Body in New Zealand actually changed the rules to say no club shall have more than 20% of its membership outside of New Zealand, because they were worried we were going to have so many members that perhaps we would, vote and overthrow the management or something. But yeah, that's water under the bridge. Everything is sweet with the National Model Flying Body now. It's all down to people. It's all down to people. When I was having trouble with Model Flying New Zealand, it was because, in my opinion, the people at the top were a bunch of asses, and they were old school. If it's made of foam and it's electric, it's not a real model. It has to be made of, you have to fell your own balsa wood tree and carve it into sticks and glue it together and cover it in dope and tissue and have a big nitro motor on the front. Then it's a model. You people with your foam models, you're not real modelers. That was a problem we faced. And those people have gone. They've aged out. And the new management or the new executive of Model Flying New Zealand are great. They've promoted mini quads and everything. So it's a much more modern organisation, and we get on like a house on fire. I made a promotional video for them. I get calls from them. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? It's great. It's the way it should be, and I'm really happy with them now. They're a fantastic group, and everyone that flies models in New Zealand should join them, even if they don't need to for the insurance, just to show some support for a body that's actually working for the hobby. And they're not just working for their members; they're working for the hobby. Unlike the AMA in America, who only work for the AMA. Yeah. And what have we got now? I think many are put off from joining clubs. One reason is the cost. Another is grumpy old buggers like me. But that's it. I mean, there are so many people who are, it's my way or the highway. Well, we only fly nitro here, and we only fly right-hand circuits, and we're not having any aerobatics, none of this modern stuff. And I've seen it. And Ron and I visited other clubs. I couldn't believe how the club culture was crazy. We went to a club not too far, about an hour from here, when they had an open day. We rolled up. They wanted to put our 2.4 gigahertz transmitters in a pound so that they wouldn't interfere with other radios. And really seriously. And we were standing on the edge of the runway. They said, "Oh, you can't stand there." Why not? Well, that's the runway. But the thing is, people weren't landing on the runway. They were crashing into the grass all over the place. The runway was the safest place to stand because nobody was hitting it. But rules. You got to stand in the pilot station. And yeah, if you're flying big, dangerous models, you've got certain rules to follow. But if you're flying little lightweight foam models like an AXN, I've seen very few people killed by an AXN. It'll happen, but risk has to, what you do has to be proportional to the amount of risk that's involved. You can't eliminate risk. You just got to manage it. So, yeah. And what have we got here? I am forced to find a space where there are no Karens. Yeah, it's getting hard, but we'll educate the Karens, don't you worry. RC clubs have a habit of making members follow the rules, but oldies can do whatever they please. Yeah, there is this kind of, again, it's the hierarchy. It's the hierarchy thing. So certain members have more privilege than others and more power than others. And that's not the way. Our club is egalitarian. Everybody is the same. Doesn't matter whether you've just rolled up for the first time, whether you've been here forever, whether you're 60 or whether you're 16, we don't give a damn. And if you look at our club, the composition is amazing. We've had, for all ethnicities, we have gender fluid people, we have the whole damn lot. We don't discriminate at all. If you want to fly a model and you're happy to join in and become part of the group, go for it. We've had people that have come and they've not come back because they don't fit. They are the people who want rules. They want structure. They want, how can you? Oh, it's too dangerous. I'm not flying here because this guy was standing over there and he should have been standing. Yeah, they don't come back. We don't tell them to go away, but they just don't fit. And if you don't fit, well, obviously you're not going to come back. But the people that do come back have a lot of fun and they fit really well. And that's the way all clubs should be. I really believe it. And Chris says, I've seen those fields with a little stand there box and the visual equivalent of nails on a chalkboard for me. Yeah, exactly, Chris. That's right. It's a different era. Those people come from an era when, you had to have your socks held up with garters and, totally different. And how can you have fun doing that? And Tim says he can't even fly his DJI from his house. Oh, tragic. Come out of the field. You can't fly it there either. Bring Vaughan back. Yes, come back, Vaughan. You've been missed, mate. People die in cars, yet we still have cars. True. And I mean, that is it. It is all about managing risk. It's not, you can never eliminate risk. There's nothing you can do to eliminate risk. You've just got to reduce it to an adequate level where the benefits you get from something are worth the risk that's involved. And we've been grossly overregulated in the hobby because when I say show me the bodies, they've got nothing to show me. When I say that to regulators. And I think that's why the regulators don't want to engage with me. I invited CAA to come on a live stream like this and explain to people who are going to be getting drones for Christmas what they should do to be safe and stay within the rules. And they said, no, we don't have anyone available. And I'm thinking, it's your job to have someone available to explain these things. But the problem is, I think, as I say, when I invited CAA to come down to our flying field and see what we're doing, they called the police. They really did. They called the police because they thought it was a threat. But to be totally fair, that was the old CAA. There's been a change of leadership in CAA. The new guy is great. His first statement was, we're not going to be pursuing technical breaches of the rules. We're more interested in focusing on safety. Brilliant. How good is that? And that is a wonderful a breath of fresh air in CAA. I've had no more problems from CAA. And I really would like them to engage because they need to be engaged with the people that they want to control. And I'm offering the vehicle to do that. But the guy at the top's got the right perspective. I don't know that everyone below him reflects that. We'll only find in time. And random FPV, yes, your disc plate is in the mail, mate. In the mail. Yeah, guaranteed. Merry Christmas from England. It's not Christmas yet, but it will be Christmas here in, what do we know? Just under hour and a half, just under an hour and a half. Fantastic. I need some of these delusional RC flyers approach to foam plane like they're flying. Yeah, it is. People, and example, there's most of the regulators now consider model aircraft and drones to be aircraft. They're not. They're not really. You cannot compare this to a Cessna 172 in terms of the risk it poses to anyone, in terms of the skill you need to fly it safely. It's not. And if you're trying to do that, then you're just being completely disingenuous. And if you want people to take you seriously, you're going the wrong way about it. Absolutely. And speaking of random FPV, what is it? Worst postage service ever. If you're in America, you can't post stuff to me because USPS are not sending stuff to New Zealand. There's not enough cargo space on aircraft to send stuff to New Zealand, so they no longer have New Zealand as a destination. You can't mail stuff. I'm not sure. Flight Test said they're sending me one of their new Flurkins. I don't know how they're going to send it, but if it's by mail, I won't expect to see it until the middle of the year. But I'll be interested in looking at that. Giving it a bit of a review. What have we got now? Have you been a good boy for Santa? Yes, I'm on the good list. I've been assured of that. I'm getting a pony. Well, maybe not. Got nowhere to put it. And here in Hungary, it takes months to register a model. You have to register everything. It's just crazy. It is crazy. But think of how many lives have been saved. You got to look at the positive side. How many lives have we saved through drone registration, model aircraft registration? Someone has to think of the children. And what's Johnny DRC? What plane is that? Are you talking about the Flurkin? That's the Flight Test one. It's a flying wing. Looks a bit like a Zod something or other, but it's foam board. So it'll be quite interesting. See how that works out. I fly a dangerous mini. Yeah, me too. Hang on. Mine is even more dangerous because it's got the FPV. Woo! In Australia, this is a killer. This is definitely a killer in Australia. But these fly fantastic with the little FPV. I really love it. I bought it home because I'm going to fly it up and down the street. FPV tomorrow because I can't be bothered going out the field. So I'll be full of Christmas cake and pudding and ham and salad, and I'll be flying up and down the street with that. Fantastic. And what else have we got? I love the look of the Flurkin. Yeah, it does look quite nice. I don't know how heavy it is, though. That'll be the only factor. Foam board can get pretty heavy if you're not careful. What have we got? Merry Christmas to you and your family from Dad and Daughter RCTV. Well, right back at you, mate. Right back at you. Yep. Yes, I will. I've got a few videos in the cam, which I'll be trying to get out before the end of the year. And I'll be doing an end of year roundup, of course, where I'll look at all the best and worst things of the year. And it's an opportunity to use some old footage and make money without doing any work. Everyone loves that. And as I say, December's the last month to make money on YouTube. And man, if I didn't know my Patreon supporters, I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd be flipping burgers. It's really fantastic to have the Patreon support. And if I get a bit more Patreon support, I will probably even start reducing the amount of advertising I use. Don't use mid-rolls, as we all know. I wish other people would adopt that approach, but they don't. But I'm trying to wind down the advertising if I can. All I need is enough money to survive, to live, and my requirements are pretty minimal. I'm pretty meager. I don't spend a lot of money. I drive that old 1994 Toyota pickup. That's fine. I put $80 a month worth of gas in it, and that gets me to and from places. In the summer, actually less. It's about $40 a month because I walk everywhere. So I don't need it. I'm not tied up with physical things. And as for the hobby, I mean, I get sent a lot of stuff, so I don't even have to spend a lot of money on the hobby really. So I usually save my money and buy stuff like cameras and things that I do need. I must get a 3D printer. Must buy a 3D printer. That has to happen. So that'll be coming up sometime. Mid-roll ads piss me off too, the shell magnet. They are just terrible. I'm going to start putting some stuff up on Odyssey. Not that much of a fan of Odyssey. It's pretty flaky in terms of you get buffering and the resolution is not that good. And as I've mentioned, I did some work on a Raspberry Pi based server here, which I may continue with when I get time. But the ADSB alarm is more important at this stage, and I may start serving some of my own stuff up, especially for Patreon supporters, because the whole YouTube ad thing is crap, absolutely crap. What have we got? Make a 3D printer. Yeah, well, I got one. I'd print one. I want a 3D printer that'll make itself. I'll buy it, print a new one, and sell the one I bought. Winner. Stambo's going to be flying his Tiny Hawk over a 15-acre property. Sounds a bit dodgy, mate. Yeah. What 3D printer do I plan to buy? Probably just that. Well, what is it? I can't remember. It's a very popular one that everyone has. The Ender. The Ender. That seems to be the one most people use. Don't need anything fancy. Just something that'll work. Link your Odyssey channel. Yeah, I know it transfers stuff over from YouTube and so forth. But what I probably may end up doing is I might start a different channel on Odyssey just to start with and just see what it's like. And see how we go from there. I've got a few ideas with things I'd like to do, which don't fit into either of my existing channels. I may do a fitness channel, but certainly the beauty vlog. I've got to do the beauty vlog. I get all these offers of, cosmetics and hair products and things that obviously right up my alley. So yeah, the beauty vlog will be a money winner, and I'll have all the affiliate links in the description on that one, so you'll be able to go and buy your lippy and your guy liner, and you make me a rich man. Trust me, it'll be great. You can't miss it. Do I recommend any crypto to invest in? No. I don't know about crypto, and I don't have any spare money to invest in anything. So I've sort of steered clear of crypto. I've seen a number of reports recently saying crypto is going to crash, but another report says it's going to boom. I've got better things to spend my money on, like food and power and internet. So yeah, if I had spare money, I might, but I don't. So I'm not, and I can't afford a video card to mine it. So yeah, too bad. Creality was a good printer. Okay. Someone lives in Pocono and would love to visit your friend. Yeah, welcome. Anyone that's in New Zealand, welcome to come to the field. Just drop me a line and come on out. And it's an airfield, so you need, if you want to fly without supervision, you need wings. But there's always someone, if we're there on a Sunday or Saturday, we'll supervise you, which basically means we just make sure you don't kill too many people in one flight. And away you go, mate. Enjoy it. Fly as you've always wanted to. You could even find yourself on YouTube if you're fortunate enough to crash. I'd never put that on YouTube, though. Never. Just ask Flying Weed. He knows. Outlaw video part 2. Yes. Actually, a lot of people have said I did do it all, and I had all the video, and I deleted the SD card. I formatted the SD card by mistake. I thought it was a different card, so it really peed me off. And now the summer's here, I can do part 2. It's not a hard build, though. It really isn't. If you just look at the bits, you can see how they go together. It's not rocket surgery, but I will do one follow-up, because little bits and pieces like mounting the motor and where bits go. So I'll try and do that over the New Year break. Give me a good little project to do in the mornings before it gets too hot at the airfield. So yeah, look for that coming up, because I still fly that. I love that plane. It's so much fun. For proximity, it's brilliant. All my planes, that's one of the ones I fly the most. And it is really low and slow in proximity, which is the way I like my FPV. What have we got? Swap a 3D printer for the DJI FPV and I'll pay the shipping. I'll think about it. Don't know about the guy liner vids, but PulseJet vids. Yeah, I've got I must do that. Unfortunately, when I built my studio, I just pushed all the crap out the back. You've seen the videos. It's just a giant mess. I need to go through there and sort stuff out. But I'm a hoarder. I don't throw much away. So I need to go and sort stuff out. And I usually get all enthusiastic on a Monday, but our local rubbish tip is closed on a Monday. So by the time Tuesday comes around, I've lost the enthusiasm. But I will try and do that because I want to get some more PulseJet stuff going. It is a lot of fun. And it is something that people find interesting. It is something that is distinctive to my channel, I suppose. And Tim, can I come on your live stream? Yeah, one day you can, mate. I'll set it up. This is just YouTube. I don't have any OBS or anything running on here, so I can't bring anyone on as far as I'm aware. So yeah, self-leveling for printer. Yep, I know about those sort of things. What's the quad you use sometimes for filming at the airfield? What's its spec? Hang on. Where is it? Just a moment. It's here somewhere. I'm just doing a live stream.
Okay. So, right.
What's the quad? Where'd it go? Oh, it's flown away. Hang on.
Is this the one you had outside?
No, I've lost it. It's around somewhere. It's a Speedy B frame with a 32mm stack and some DYS motors and a Runcam hybrid 4K camera. So that's basically it. And it's using Crossfire for the radio link. And it's analog FPV because it's got the hybrid 4K with a video analog transmitter. Yeah, that's what I use. And I love it. It flies really nicely. It's smooth. And I get 20 minutes if I use my homemade lithium ion pack, 20-minute flight time, which is pretty damn good for a freestyle quad. So but if I want to chase dirt bikes or go-karts, I just use a 1500 LiPo pack. And it works fine. What have we got else on here? Any jet-powered drones on the horizon? No. Not at the moment, no. And yes, pulse jets are fun and loud and dangerous. Not really. If you don't know what you're doing, they're dangerous. And I did pass the dumb CASA test. Yes, wasn't I good? I aced that test, eh? Aced it. I am now professional in the eyes of CASA. I'm sure that they will be sending me a suitable certificate and card and things. Loving it. And Chris says, let's have it right, Bruce. It's all about the money from retail delivery drones, the passenger drone industry, and nothing to do with RC model flying safety. Yep, and even the FAA is sort of backing away from the safety thing. I'm doing a video on the RDQ court hearing, which if you didn't see it, I'll be putting up my observations there. And even the FAA are basically falling back on national security. And they're saying basically, even if you did find that the RDQ challenge had some merit, we're going to say national security. And when they say national security, that means everything else doesn't count. The Constitution doesnst count. Nothing else counts because national security trumps everything. And we want everyone to have remote ID. So this going to be very hard for RDQ to win this court case. But I will be, as I say, analysing that court process and giving you my thoughts and highlighting the bits, because one of the judges were very good. They actually did their homework. They had some really good questions. And one of the things they sort of challenged on is, why are you regulating airspace where there won't be any manned aircraft? And that opened up some doors. And I think we could see some more movement there. But yeah. Oh, IT, thank you for the $5. That will go down very nicely. Buy some more cranberry juice. And Richard says, thanks, Bruce, for another year of entertainment and information technology. You and the guys stay safe. Oh, it's no fun in being safe and sound. The fan in my computer has just kicked in. This is an old computer, and the bearings are stuffed. So if you hear a noise, that's not me. That's the computer. Would love to come over to Tokoroa and do some passive smoking with you from Wayne. Yeah, everyone's welcome in Toke. Just come on over. Give us a shout first. Make sure we're there. Have I built any autonomous plane drone after the cruise missile? Yes, I built a way back when I first came to Tokoroa about 2006. I built an autonomous model aircraft with I've done a video with my own design flight controller using PIC processors, and I flew that for quite some time. It worked, a proof concept and everything, but I'm not really into your typical INAV with return to home, that sort of thing. I like to fly. I don't like to just direct things around in the sky. I like to actually be there flying hard. Look, another $5. Woohoo, keep it coming. That's brilliant. So you can't trump stuff in the USA now, can you? Yeah. Yep. And Kerry's having a cranberry and soda with lemon. Oh, good. I've had quite a bit of feedback on that, actually. Some people have already found it works for them. So that's good to know. Good to know. And I'll be having one before I go to bed so I can sleep right through. And how's the studio lighting project progressing? Oh, yeah, g'day, Laurie. Yes, thank you very much. It's coming on very well. I've got, of course, it's someone else. I don't need it for a little while, but I've purchased myself some lighting bits and pieces, so that will not be a problem. Cloudy days will not be a problem. And yes, I appreciate all your help and contribution. Fantastic, mate. Absolutely excellent. And you'll see the benefits of that coming up. Excellent. And what have we got here? Merry Christmas from the Shell Magnet. Have you tried Betaflight 4.3? No, one interesting thing you've probably noticed is that when stuff works, I don't fix it. My Tyrannus is still running the very original firmware from when it arrived. It was a pre-production model, and I haven't updated the firmware. It works. It absolutely works. I haven't updated the firmware in any of my radios because they work. And I don't need all the extra complexity and hassles and messing around with updating software. So if it works, I don't fix it. I don't need to, because I've seen so many people with tales of woe. Oh, I updated my software and it's bricked this, or this doesn't work anymore. I lost all my models and things. So it's very easy to make mistakes. So I don't generally update stuff unless I absolutely need to. The only thing I have updated, of course, is the Crossfire, because it updates itself. Basically, you buy a new receiver, it won't work until you've updated the transmitter, and then it does the over-the-air update. That's nice and simple and easy. But no, I'm not a great fan of fixing stuff that isn't broken. What have we got? Any recommendation for a long-range crop circle spotter plane? No, no idea. Oh, thank you, Lawrence. Yes. Oh, I am most grateful for your help. Yeah, so that's it. How long have I been doing this thing now? What, an hour and a half? Geez, where's the time gone? Absolutely amazing. So yeah, I'll wind it up. I will probably do some more streams over the break, because they're quick and easy, and hopefully I can answer questions you might have, and you might give me some ideas for videos and things. And because someone asked me, actually, I mentioned I was going to be Oops, let's get rid of some of this rubbish. Mentioned I was going to be reviewing this thing. They asked what sort of motors they were. Were they brushed or brushless? I don't know. I'll have to have a look. Can't tell from the outside. I'll rip it apart and have a look. But yeah, so there will be probably a video from Boxing Day and things. Do you sell pulse jet plans from you? I used to, but I don't anymore. I used to have a book about pulse jets, which I sold. That's interesting, isn't it? I made a lot of money out of that book, to be totally honest. It was a book with plans and all sorts of information on pulse jets. I published it, sold it for about 10 years, and I must have sold about 1,000 copies of it. Absolutely brilliant. So I should do some more ebooks, but it's finding the time. And I must finish my book, The Missile Man, recounting my experiences dealing with national security and the media and all sorts of things when I built my cruise missile. That is a really interesting story which needs to be told. When I first tried to publish that, Amazon refused to publish it because it was too sensitive, apparently, at the time. But I'm sure they will now. We'll find out. Ideal Christmas gift. Link in the description. Not really. Yep. And Lawrence has a bit of a problem. Cannot find any cranberry juice that does not contain water. Yeah, it is difficult. There is a lot of cranberry flavored drink. That's why I use the only one I can find is the Ocean Spray Light, which has the highest cranberry juice ratio of anything I can find. Everything else is apple juice with cranberry flavoring. No, that's no good. You've got to have the real cranberry juice. So hunt around. You may have to buy online. I said, you're keeping it real. I always try to keep it real, mate. It's all I can do. It's the only thing I know. Have a good festive season. I will do my best. Certainly do my best. And we can get the same Ocean Spray Light here. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I use it. It's good. It's not a lot of calories because as you get older and slower, you don't want too many calories or you start getting fat. And I've been getting a bit fat recently. So in the new year, I will be losing a bit of weight. I'll be cutting down to my trimmer self, which is good. Get those 20 hand clap press ups done by lightening up. Yep. And how do you install your crossfire antenna on your quad frames? I install mine. Hang on a minute. If I can find, just a moment. I'll try and find that quad. It's here somewhere. I knew it was here. Here we go. Here we go. What I've done on this, I don't use the T one. I use the wire one with the counterpoise. I have the active element here on a little straw to keep it upright, and then I have the counterpoise here just hanging out the back. I don't know if you can see that. It's just hanging out the back there. That's the other half of the wire that goes around the outside of the coax. So I've made a dipole, but it's vertical. You really want to have it vertical. If you have it horizontal, see people putting them, across the frame like that. You have all sorts of problems because as you rotate your quad, then the null points off the end of the antenna will line up with your transmitter, and you can lose up to 90%, over 90% of your signal when that happens, going to failsafe. Whereas if your antenna is vertical and you have your transmitter antenna vertical, it doesn't matter what the orientation of the quad is, then you won't be encountering a null. You get very consistent RSSI and link quality. So it's really worth doing that. One-handed push-ups. Yeah, I've done some one-handed push-ups, but not many. It's not something I've actually tried. In fact, I hadn't done the hand clap push-ups until Dave Jones started that challenge. I didn't know how many I could do, so that was interesting to find out anyway. Cruise missile under 250 grams, I'll be fine. Absolutely. What have we got? What about a swarm of 20 that weigh under 250? Well, you'd have to ask the regulator, wouldn't you? Eh? What have we got? Dave Jones was cheating. Yeah, his form wasn't that good. So, but I mean, my last few claps weren't that good either. So, yeah, everyone was cheating a bit, I think. Bruce, what is the cranberry before bedtime good for? Well, I did a video, Brian, where if you have to get up in the night to go to the toilet, I found the cranberry, lemon juice, and soda water basically enables you to sleep through the night. It's great. I haven't been getting up in the night to go to the toilet for years now. I used to have to get up 2 or 3 times a night. Not now. It's great. Wake up in the morning. Sometimes I have a breakfast and then I go to the toilet. It's really good. It works for me. And other people have been saying, I'll get feedback. It's working for other people as well. So that's good news. Yeah, half of one hand push up. Yeah, I can go down, but coming back up's really hard, eh? Flying RC is not a crime. That's absolutely true. But killing the hobby is a crime, and certain organizations should be crucified for that. Struggle to find comparison between the 2 TBS antennas. How does the Y antenna compare to the straight one? But you mean by the T one. But this is interesting, and I find it quite annoying because what a lot of manufacturers are doing is they're making these dipole antennas, the T-shaped antennas, which like this, and they are actually not a very good antenna, to be totally honest, because they are what is called a balanced antenna. A dipole is balanced; it has two arms the same length, whereas the coaxial cable that feeds that, the cable that comes from the receiver, is an unbalanced cable, which means you're connecting a balanced antenna to an unbalanced feed, and that causes all sorts of issues with reflections and things called SWR and things, and you get a very poor result. If you're going to use a balanced antenna, you should have a balanced feeder. So if you're going to use coaxial cable feeding an antenna, you need a balanced or an antenna that has a method of balancing, and that's why when you look at the little antennas like these on, let me see that. Well, let me see that. You see that there? They're called a sleeved dipole. In fact, here's one too on my tiny sleeve dipole. These have the active element, and then they have like a tube that runs back down the cable, and that provides a counterpoise to balance. So this antenna can be fed with an unbalanced feed because it's not a balanced antenna in the way that a dipole is. So that making these T antennas are no better really than just a piece of coax with a hunk of wire hanging off it. So there's not a lot of difference. It's how you install it. Remembering that all antennas should be kept as far away from conductive materials like the frame or other wiring as possible, because if you get too close, they detune and they absorb some of the signal, and they create all sorts of strange patterns where they don't pick up from certain directions. So it's more about the installation technique than the actual antenna itself in most models. What have we got here? Vitamin C is useless. Yeah, I have a small vitamin C supplement just as part of a general pill I take. And yeah, most people get enough in their diet. You don't need too much additional. Whiteboard video. Yeah, I've got a digital whiteboard now, digital tablet, which I've been using, trying to get good at. I did one on analog FPV, but my drawing skills on that are absolutely crap. I've been having to practice. That's one of the reasons that the video on how digital FPV works and how the DJI compares to the HD0, that's one of the reasons that video hasn't come out, because my skills with the digital tablet are terrible. It looks like a 5-year-old playing with a crayon. So I'm trying to improve that side of things. Hopefully I will get that sorted pretty quickly. And model makers are indeed the engineers of tomorrow. And if we kill the hobby, then we're going to find the aviation sector especially is going to be very short of personnel, skilled personnel. Everyone will be just mining crypto in their basement instead of going out and flying models and becoming aviation engineers. So yeah, we reap what we sow. Ether breather. There is some formulas for establishing valve pulse jet dimensions, and I did include them in my book. You can sort of eyeball it and it will work, but it will not work that well. Getting the dimensions right makes a huge difference in performance, and it's not actually that simple, but there are some basic formulas that will give you a ballpark for doing that. Can you expect the same range between the Y and the T? It really depends 100% on how it's installed. That's basically what it boils down to. A bad installation of a T will give you less range than a good installation of a Y, and vice versa. So it also depends on the model. So, and what have we got? How do you keep your beard to Lord of the Rings standard? I don't actually. It needs a trim now. I just use the same thing I used to get rid of the growth on the hair. I just sit one of those combs on it, number 2, zing, zing, zing. That's it. Not a lot of work involved. I do it about once a week or once every 10 days. It's getting scruffy now, so yeah, that's how I do that. And cranberry juice helps with your prostate problems. I don't have prostate problems, so hey. What have we got here? Okay, well, that's probably about it. I might as well wrap it up before the old Sheila comes and whacks me around the head for spending too much time in the computer. But I thank you all for joining me on this. And I certainly think the people that have donated through the Super Chat, that's brilliant. That will be well used on various things over the new year, which you'll see on the channel. It all goes into, as much as I can, into making more content for the channel and supporting people directly, by email and just basically trying to stand up for the hobby, promote the hobby, protect the hobby, and, give everyone the best deal they can get. So if you've got any ideas, always feel free to throw them at me. I'm always keen to hear, because I'm just one person. My idea is not necessarily the best, and I'm always keen to get other feedback. It's essential that I know what people are thinking, and if I'm doing stuff wrong, tell me. I need to know, because I'm not perfect. I may look perfect, but I'm not. So there we go, folks. Thank you so much for your time and engaging with me in this little chat, which wasn't advertised. It just happened. So I appreciate it. And I wish you all a great Christmas. I may do a stream tomorrow morning if I get up too early, which I often do. I may just pop another stream up first thing, and I'll let you know what Christmas 2021 is like, because New Zealand is the first country in the world to have Christmas, because we're 13 hours ahead of GMT. Fantastic. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time. We'll see you later.